Discover the incredible transformation. 12 heartwarming stories that expose life-changing moments. In a small Midwest town, where cornfields whispered secrets to the wind and neighbors exchanged smiles over white picket fences, Sarah felt like a ghost haunting her own life. At 32, she was a single mother battling demons that no one could see, like the gaping hole left by the unexpected passing of her husband. She wore her grief silently, radiant yet frayed. As she juggled multiple jobs, waitressing at the diner, cleaning at the local school, the weight of her responsibilities pressed down on her, but the love for her two children, Emily and Jake, fueled her spirit. Life had become a series of relentless routines, the days merging into one another, yet hope flickered in Emily's smile. But as spring faded into summer, the shadows lengthened. Emily, now in 4th grade, faced cruel taunts from classmates, who soaked up the harshness of the world and spilled it onto her tender heart. Coming to school in hand-me-down clothes that were years out of fashion, she became a target for the jeers of kids who felt the need to rise by tearing others down. Each story Sarah heard about her daughter's experience sliced through her chest like a knife. The annual town fair approached, a lively event where kids ran barefoot and laughter filled the air. This year, Sarah decided to enter the local sewing contest. Determined to craft a beautiful dress for Emily, it was her chance to show her daughter that beauty could emerge from hardship. They weren't alone in their struggles. But as she prepared, whispers echoed in the town about Sarah's likelihood of success. Some rallied behind her, admiring her courage, while others rolled their eyes at the audacity of her ambition. A local shopkeeper, keen on publicity, offered to sponsor Sarah's entry, proposing the use of their fabrics. The offer shimmered like a lifeline, yet it felt like a betrayal. Could she compromise her vision for the sake of approval? Her heart raced at the thought. The community's judgment gnawed at her. As contest day arrived, excitement crackled in the air. Sarah's fingers trembled at the sewing machine as she pieced together the dress, a representation of her struggle and dreams. But with every stitch came an echo of doubt. When her turn came, holding the unfinished garment that spoke of her heartache, she felt the weight of an audience's gaze. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Breathing deeply, Sarah stepped into the spotlight, vulnerability shimmering in her eyes. She opened up about her journey, a widow, a worker, a mother bearing her soul without pretense. The crowd fell silent as she illuminated the grim realities of life, her voice rising and falling like a gentle tide. I might not have fancy fabrics or rich threads, but this dress carries my love and hope. As she spoke, the palpable weight of despair in the room shifted, igniting compassion and understanding. Would they listen? The tension tightened like a bowstring, leaving the outcome balancing on a knife's edge. Would her vulnerability inspire the town to rise above judgment, or would they cling to their doubts? The story hung in the air, vibrant yet unresolved, leading to an uncertain but hopeful tomorrow. The silence in the room wrapped around Sarah like a warm blanket, her heart pounding against its confines. She could feel Emily's eyes watching her from the front row, filled with hope and admiration. This was more than just a dress. It represented so much more than fabric and thread. It symbolized resilience, love, and the power of vulnerability. As Sarah finished speaking, the audience stirred. Faces softened, and she glimpsed a few nods of understanding. Every emotion she shared hung in the air, mixture of sorrow, courage, and the unyielding strength of a mother's love. But doubt still hovered. Would they accept her? Would they embrace her truth and, in turn, embrace Emily? The moment stretched, ticking like a clock, while the crowd held its collective breath. Then, like a ripple through water, one brave soul broke the silence. A woman from the back shouted, "You're incredible, Sarah." A young girl, perhaps no older than 8, stood up on her seat, clapping with all her might. Laughter mixed with applause as others joined in, creating a wave of support that washed over Sarah. Her heart swelled. This was the warmth she had longed for, the acceptance she needed. Emily's face lit up, pride beaming like sunlight in her eyes. Sarah felt a surge of energy, lifting her spirits higher than they had been in months. This wasn't only about winning the contest. It was about unmasking the humanity that connected them all, a realization that no one was alone in their struggles. As they calmed down, the next contestant took the stage, but Sarah's mind drifted. She thought about the upcoming school year and how she could help Emily navigate the treacherous waters of bullying. She wanted to be a shield, not just with fabric but with words of support and encouragement. After the contest, Sarah made her way through the fairgrounds, the scent of popcorn and cotton candy dancing in the air. Children dotted around, laughing and shouting, their carefree joy infectious. She leaned down to Emily, taking her hand. "Let's make our own memories today, okay? Can we go to the big slide?" Jake chimed in, his eyes wide with excitement. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, feeling buoyed by the support she had received. They raced toward the towering slide, her worries melting away with each step. As they reached the top, Sarah couldn't help but notice a group of kids gathered around. Eyes fixed on Emily, a familiar pang of fear hit her, but she took a deep breath, reminding herself how far she had come. The moment she stood beside her children, she felt solid, grounded. They were a family united against the odds. Sliding down, they squealed with delight, the thrill shoving aside all thoughts of judgment. But when she glanced back, she caught sight of the same kids who had taunted Emily earlier, pointing and laughing. The smiles twisted into something ugly, and her heart sank anew. What would it take to banish the darkness they spread? Sarah's spirit wavered, and doubt poked its head back into her mind. Yet, as Emily laughed beside her, she realized that they would face this together. "I won't let anybody steal your shine, Em," Sarah whispered, squeezing her hand tighter, but uncertainty lingered. How could she arm her daughter with the courage to rise above the hurt? What steps would she take next to create a place of safety for her kids at school? Sarah's heart raced as she faced the growing shadows. How far was she willing to go to protect her family? Would her newfound strength be enough to change the narrative? The next chapter loomed large, and now, more than ever, she needed to fight for the love that fueled her bravest dreams. As the laughter faded, Sarah's resolve firmed. She looped her arm around Emily, shielding her in a protective embrace while pushing the negative energy from her thoughts. Let's find something fun to do, she said, forcing a smile despite the twinge of anxiety twisting in her stomach. They ventured through the fair, colorful booths bursting with shimmering prizes and tantalizing smells. The world around them thrummed with joy, but Sarah's focus was unyielding. Those taunting eyes still haunted her. Can we get ice cream? Jake's tiny voice broke into her thoughts. Sure, let's do it, she replied, grateful for the distraction. They approached the ice cream stand, where vibrant flavors danced in the sunlight. Can I have the rainbow one? Emily pointed excitedly, her earlier tension melting away completely. Sarah watched her daughter, heart swelling with pride. Sure, the world could be challenging, but here, in this moment, Emily radiated happiness. They indulged in their treats, laughing and joking as they walked toward the Ferris wheel. Jake bounced ahead, already imagining the view from the top. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket, and she glanced down, seeing a message from a friend. Hey, have you thought about the parent-teacher meeting next week? Let me know if you want to carpool. The reminder hit her with an unexpected force. Meetings at school often felt like a battlefield. Parents crowded the room with assumptions and judgments, their eyes swarming like bees. Instinctively, she worried what would happen when they discussed Emily's place in class. Mom. Jake shouted, pulling her from her reverie. Look. I can see the whole fair from up here. She smiled, recalling her own childhood. Those moments of pure joy were priceless, a fleeting treasure. But her heart pounded as she considered the challenges looming over them, a chorus of whispers waiting to catch her off guard. We're next! Emily cheered, pulling them forward. As they took their seats in the Ferris wheel, the gentle sway filled Sarah with both excitement and apprehension. Climbing higher, she watched familiar faces, some from the contest, others from their neighborhood. She turned to watch Emily, who sat wide-eyed and grinning, taking in the view. I can see the stage from here, she exclaimed, pointing. Sarah laughed, but inside, she felt tension coiling. They were exposed at dizzying heights, and she wanted to shield her daughter from the glaring eyes below. Just hold on tight, Sarah encouraged, afraid of the fall that could come if Emily faced ridicule again. But as they rose higher, surrounded by the azure sky, doubt fell behind. In that moment, nothing else mattered except their little family. The wheel paused at the top, and they were suspended in midair, the world spread beneath them. It was beautiful. But Sarah's heart raced. How long could she hold on to this peace? Can we stay here forever? Emily whispered, eyes sparkling. Sarah's heart ached with protective love. We'll always find our way back to moments like this, no matter what. As they descended, that hope clashed with her worry. She felt it in her bones what would happen when they touched the ground again. Would their little bubble of joy burst? When the ride ended and they stepped back into the vibrant chaos, a familiar face caught Sarah's eye, one of the parents, who had been openly judgmental in the past. The pulse in her veins quickened. Her heart sank, knowing that stronger battles loomed under the bright fairground lights. What would she say if confronted? How would she protect her children if the laughter turned sour? Sarah took a deep breath, remembering the words she spoke just days ago. I won't let anybody steal your shine. But now, more than ever, she wondered, could she really hold on to that promise? With determination simmering in her heart, she faced the crowd. The challenge of tomorrow loomed ahead. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. How brave was she willing to be for Emily's happiness? The impossible lit up on the horizon, and a question lingered in the air: what awaited them in the storm to come? The air buzzed with the sounds of laughter, and the bright lights of the fair painted a colorful backdrop to Sarah's racing thoughts. She felt exposed, her chest constricting as she spotted that parent, the one whose judgment felt like a shadow, looming closer. "Mom, look!" Jake shouted again, pulling at her sleeve. He was pointing toward a clown twisting balloons for eager children. The sight brought a smile to Sarah's face, momentarily distracting her from the knot tightening in her stomach. She turned her gaze back to her son, radiant with innocent excitement. "Can we get a balloon?" he asked, bouncing on his toes. "Of course, buddy, let's go," she replied, her voice tinged with forced cheerfulness. They wandered toward the clown, Jake's enthusiasm drawing Sarah along like a moth to a flame, even as her mind remained preoccupied. As they waited in line, shadows from her worries began to drift away, if only for a moment. Emily tugged at Sarah's other hand, her little face alight with anticipation. "I want a unicorn." Sarah nodded, momentarily caught up in the delight of her children. Each giggle, each sparkle in their eyes soothed her anxious heart. But just as they stepped up to the front of the line, that parent Carla, she remembered, moved into view, scanning the crowd. "Hey, look!" Emily shouted, oblivious to the brewing tension. "It's our turn." Jake grabbed her hand, his eyes glued to the balloons. "Mom, I want a red one." "No, a blue one." Sarah forced herself to focus on her kids as the clown approached, his painted face stretching into a huge grin. "What will it be, kiddos?" "3 balloons, please," she exclaimed. The request spilled from her as if it could mask the growing chatter of judgment she sensed in the distance. With giggles, they chose their colors. Emily got the unicorn, Jake settled on a bright blue dog. As they exited the stand, Sarah noticed Carla watching them, leaning against a booth, arms crossed, skepticism etched across her face. Their eyes briefly met. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. "Just keep moving," she whispered to herself, shielding her children from the weight of the stare. But a nagging thought crept under her skin. What if she ended up defending Emily in front of everyone again? Would she crumble? "Mom, can I let my balloon go?" Jake asked, stretching his little fingers toward the sky. "Just hold onto it tight, sweetie," she replied, swallowing hard. The irony of his innocent question cut deep. How much longer could she hold on to her family's joy without it slipping away? The sun began to dip, casting a golden hue over the scene, and Sarah tried to emphasize her confidence. "Let's get some cotton candy," she said, trying to spark another string of joy between them. While they made their way to the cotton candy stand, her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, expecting another mundane message, but was surprised to see a headline flash across: "Local fair set to host community event, parent participation required." A chill ran through her, mixing hope with dread. What did it mean for Emily? For them? With uncertainty swirling in her gut, she glanced back at the fair. Everywhere she looked, laughter lingered, but the familiar prick of worry returned, relentless. Standing there, she thought about the community, how they could come together, but also tear apart. What was the truth waiting for them beneath the surface? "Mom, this way," Emily chirped, pulling her toward the next ride. "Right behind you," Sarah called, gathering her strength. Those questioning eyes didn't matter as long as she had her kids. The feigned smile returned, but she felt the weight of what lay ahead growing heavier, pressing against her resolve. Just then, a sudden burst of laughter echoed, and she caught a familiar voice in the press of people. It belonged to a good friend, Samantha, who appeared like a comforting light in her jagged shadow of insecurity. Sarah felt an urge to reach out, but the doubt rushed back in. Could she really open up about her fears? The thrill of the fair continued all around, yet, amidst the joy, a torrent stirred in her heart. The fair wasn't just a series of rides and booths. It was a reminder of the challenges they faced. Would she be able to confront her fears? Could she truly protect Emily's happiness as they walked further into the crowd? As the cheerful noise enveloped them once more, Sarah prepared to step further into her predicament. Little did she know that the real challenge awaited just beyond the next corner, where laughter danced dangerously close to silence. Samantha wove through the crowd, her laughter bubbling up like the festivities surrounding them. The sight of her friend, with her golden curls bouncing, was a welcome distraction. For a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of warmth inside, a glimmer of comfort that might just help her navigate the storm rising within. Sarah, you my dear. Samantha beamed, drawing them into a quick hug that felt like a shield against the world. And look at these two. I love the balloons. Thanks, Sam, Sarah replied, lifting her chin just slightly, embracing the moment. She forced a smile, even as her heart thudded against her ribs. We couldn't miss the fair. Honestly, these events are perfect for a little family fun. Samantha glanced around. What have you all tried so far? The Ferris wheel is a must. Did you see the way it lights up? Not yet. We were just heading to get some cotton candy. Sarah steadied herself for the barrage of questions she sensed were about to follow. But Samantha seemed unaware of the weight that pressed on her. I can't believe we finally got a community event. I hope to see everyone come together for this. It's so important. Samantha's enthusiasm was contagious, but also daunting. Yeah, important, Sarah echoed, her throat tightening. She looked down at Emily tugging on Jake's shirt, and their excitement painted a stark contrast to her smoldering anxiety. Come on, let's all go get cotton candy together, Samantha suggested, grabbing both Jake and Emily's hands, leading them towards the stand. Achi, that moment Sarah felt as though a piece of herself untangled from the grip of worry. The laughter returned, the colors of the night brightened, and for a flickering heartbeat, the shadows seemed to fade. As they waited, the bright pink and blue cotton candy spun like clouds above the machine, and Sarah allowed herself to breathe. Their faces lit up in delight when they each got their fluffy treats, a pink whirl for Emily, blue for Jake, and a modest cone for Samantha. Chuck them. Samantha's sad laughter bubbling over. They're going to sugar up and will be left to deal with it. But who cares, right? This is what it's about. Sarah chuckled, stifling the flutter of worry that flared within. She watched her children with a mix of joy and apprehension. Could this truly be a moment of pure happiness? Suddenly, from across the space, she saw a group gathering in front of a stage. Heartwarming. The very thought of speaking, of sharing Emily's story, made her chest tighten. Mom, can we go see? Jake asked, his blue balloon bobbing over excitedly. Emily nodded, her cotton candy threatening to dissolve in a sticky fog. But Sarah hesitated, dread wrapping around her as though it were a chain. Why don't we? She took a deep breath, searching for the right words. Let's finish our snacks first. Then we can decide. As they stood there, the laughter of children mingled with the distant hum of the forum. The choice lay heavy in her mind, coiling around her resolve like a thick vine. Would she let her fears dictate their evening, or could she muster the courage to confront them? Above all, how would her decision shape Emily's path forward? The enticing sounds of community intertwined with parental dread echoed in her mind, and Sarah realized that only she could steer her family's course. With Samantha nearby, her light just a hand's reach away, she felt something shift within. But as they finished their treats, Sarah could feel the tugging of opportunity, a whispering idea lingering just beyond her reach. Would she give in to the fear or rise to meet the challenge? The answer awaited her just a heartbeat away. With their cotton candy quickly disappearing, Sarah felt the sweetness melting away in her mouth. The sugary delight momentarily distracted her, but her thoughts were still tangled up in uncertainty. She watched as the last bit of pink fluff vanished into Emily's eager mouth. Jake was focused on a balloon animal they'd bought, twisting it and stretching it, wanting to make it perform tricks. "Hey, look at this!" Jake exclaimed, doing his best to make the balloon spin. His laughter rang like bells, and it was the sound that pierced through Sarah's apprehension, reminding her of all the joy children could bring. Samantha's eyes sparkled, filled with a kind of excitement that was infectious. "If they're happy, that's all that matters, right?" she said, squeezing Sarah's shoulder. "But we should also see how everyone else is coming together. You know, show them how strong we are." Sarah's heart raced. It was as if Samantha was shining a spotlight on the very fear that gnawed at her. Everyone at the forum had something to share. Would they understand her struggle? Was she strong enough to stand up next to parents discussing their own journeys? The voice in her head roared, "Just don't. Stay in the shadows. Mama, can we go?" "Please." Jake's voice cut through her thoughts, filled with innocent urgency. She looked at him, his big eyes wide with eager anticipation, and then turned toward Emily, whose little face was smeared with remnants of cotton candy, a testament to her pure happiness. In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of her children's expectations resting heavily on her heart. "All right," she said, her voice shaky yet resolute. "Let's go check it out." As they made their way toward the stage, the air pulsed with energy. Laughter filled the atmosphere, weaving a spell of optimism throughout the crowd. Sarah could see families sitting on picnic blankets, kids darting around with painted faces, and neighbors catching up with each other. Each smile and shared story felt like a lifeline. "Look at all these people," Samantha said, a warm smile lighting up her face. "They're here for one another, just like us." Sarah nodded, her heart swelling slightly, yet anxiety bubbled under the surface. What if I can't do this? "You can." "Just take a deep breath," Samantha replied, squeezing Sarah's hand. "You matter. Your story matters. And I'll be right here with you." As they approached the stage, Sarah felt a newfound determination stirring within her. The crowd was anticipating the start of the forum, murmurs swirling like leaves caught in the breeze. Suddenly, a friendly face from their neighborhood stepped up to the microphone, and he began sharing his own story. Sarah felt her heart race as she listened. He spoke of fears and struggles, but also of hope and togetherness. Each word he shared seemed to weave a tapestry of empathy. "I'm not alone," Sarah whispered to herself, their stories anchoring her own tumultuous feelings. Maybe this was what she needed, a community anchored in understanding and support. "Mom, are you going to go up there?" Jake asked, pulling her gently. She hesitated, the knot in her stomach tightening once more, just as she thought to shake her head. She caught a glimpse of Emily holding her little pink balloon high, its vibrant color splashing against the twilight sky. Reminder like balloons could you imagine. Suddenly, the microphone was passed to another speaker. Sarah could feel the moment that her heart thudded loudly in her chest. "Come on, Mom, you can do it," Jake urged. Could she? Would she step into the light and share her truth? A trembling breath escaped her lips, and she could feel all eyes on her. But, with another glance at her children, determination surged within her. She stepped forward, the weight of expectation swirling around her, and just as she positioned herself beside Samantha, she caught the encouraging nod of her friend. And for the first time, with her heart pounding but an undeniable clarity in her spirit, she prepared to speak. But just as she opened her mouth, a loud crash came from the back of the crowd, sending a ripple of unease through the attendees. All eyes turned. Her heart sank again, uncertainty rushing back. Who was in trouble now? The question lingered in the air, and Sarah's courage wavered. Would she still find a way to share her story, or would fear pull her back into the shadows? The crowd gasped collectively, their cheerful energy replaced with confusion and worry. Sarah's heart raced, echoing in her ears. She caught Samantha's worried look, and then Jake's small hand gripped her tightly. "Mom, was that?" he whispered, peering past her shoulder, eyes wide. I don't know," Sarah replied, her heart fluttering wildly, the safety net of her earlier resolve slipping away. All around them, voices swirled in a blend of concern and curiosity. Was someone hurt? Had something gone wrong? As the commotion grew louder, Sarah slowly turned to see what had caused the disturbance. A small pile of colorful balloons had fallen over, the strings tangled in a child's hand. Laughter bubbled up, breaking through the tension as nearby families rushed to help. The sight made her exhale, just a little. It was only a minor incident, but it felt like a reminder of how quickly joy could turn to fear in unexpected moments. "Mom, can we help?" Emily tugged at her sleeve, her innocent enthusiasm shining brightly. "I want to fix it." Sarah looked down at her children, who embodied pure joy and resilience. "Of course," she said, the warmth in her heart igniting sparks of courage. If they could step forward so fearlessly, maybe she could too. Moving toward the scene, she joined her children as they bent down to gather up the fallen balloons. Laughter returned to the air as onlookers began to help one another untangle the mess. Simple acts of kindness began cascading around them as neighbors shared glances and small conversations. "See," Samantha chimed in, smiling brightly. "Everyone here is ready to help, just like we are." It's a powerful feeling. Her words resonated deep within Steve. This was what community meant, coming together, leaning on one another when life tangled the strings of their lives. A gentle nudge from behind interrupted Sarah's thoughts. A petite woman with kind eyes and a soothing smile, Helen from their book club, now stood beside her. "Need a hand?" she asked, bending down to assist with a balloon. "Thank you," Helen, Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. It felt good to know someone here cared. As they worked together, the crowd's laughter rose. One by one, balloons were freed, and with each balloon restored, Sarah felt her own fears uncoil. Perhaps she didn't have to carry the burden alone. Together, they were strong. Their shared laughter echoed in her heart. "Mom, look!" Jake's voice called excitedly, waving his newly liberated balloon. It danced in the air, a bright spot of color against the dusk. "We did it!" She couldn't help but smile, her chest swelling with pride for her children. Maybe this moment of vulnerability was what she needed all along, a reminder that strength could be found in the simplest acts of connection. Inspiration rooted itself deep within her. With a final glance at the balloon in Jake's hand, her resolve hardened. She could do this. She could share her story. Recharged, she straightened up, taking a deep breath. But before she could take another step toward the microphone, the loud voice of the next speaker echoed through the crowd, drawing everyone's attention. A mother, visibly shaken but strong, stepped up. "My name is Lavra, my son. He's been struggling, and today I fear I might." The atmosphere shifted again, tension rising. Sarah held her breath, feeling the urgency in Laura's voice. The connection she felt in that moment was palpable. This was what she feared, but also what she longed for. It was raw, it was real. Just then, the tension broke, drawing everyone's attention back to her. What if she took this leap? Would the shared understanding grant her the courage she needed? Sarah stood on the precipice of her fears, battling the whirlpool of emotions inside. Would she seize this moment to rise, or let it slip away? The voice in her heart whispered this was her chance. She took a step forward, heart pounding, ready to share. But would she find the strength in herself to follow through, even as the unexpected unfolded around her? Laura's voice wavered, weaving through the silence of the crowd, pulling everyone closely into her sincerity. "I didn't know what to do when I saw the signs." The isolation, the sadness, each word felt heavy with emotion. And Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of Laura's struggle seep into her own heart. The crowd listened, rapt, as Laura shared her son's story. "He needs us," she said, tears glistening in her eyes. "He needs to know he's not alone, that we all understand, that we care." In that moment, Sarah saw the bravery it took to be vulnerable, to stand before a crowd with so much at stake. It was a stark reminder of her own hidden fears, churning and clawing at her heart. "Mom," Emily whispered, her small hand finding Sarah's. "Can we help her? Can we do something?" The innocence in her daughter's voice struck a chord. Help her. Such a simple thought, yet it held so much promise. They had just celebrated the joy of community by picking up scattered balloons. Here was another opportunity to generate connection, but this time it felt different, deeper. "I don't know what we can do," Sarah replied, feeling a mix of helplessness and determination. But as she looked around, she noticed how others had leaned in, how I saw shared glances between the neighbors, how the atmosphere brimmed with empathy. "Maybe it's not just what we can do," Samantha chimed in, wrapping her arms around Emily. "Maybe it's just being here with her, listening and showing we care." Sarah took a deep breath, letting her children's light guide her. Samantha was right. Sometimes presence was everything. "Yes," she said, her voice gathering strength. We can stand with her. As they moved toward Lovra, the crowd parted just enough to let them through. Sarah's heart raced with each step, but it was a different kind of fear now. It was the kind that flickered with courage. She was not alone. She would be a part of something bigger. Lovra, Sarah called gently, her voice steady. We're here for you. We want to help however we can. The look of surprise and relief on Laura's face was enough to ignite a shift in the energy. A collective sigh of understanding washing over the crowd. Others began to approach too, offering support, sharing their stories, their journeys. The small corner of the crowd soon transformed, becoming a safe space for connection and healing. Voices murmured, stories intertwined, all building a tapestry of empathy. Thank you, Lavra said, her voice cracking, but there was a hint of gratitude beneath her vulnerability. I'm not sure I can do this alone anymore. I've been so afraid. And then Sarah felt it an electric pulse of courage. She turned back to face the group, taking another step towards the microphone. She could feel the warmth of the crowd surrounding her, the same way they embraced Laura's truth. Her voice quivered as she broke the silence. I've been afraid too. I've carried my own struggles silently. The ripple of realization washed over the crowd. What would Sarah say next? Would she find her words, her strength, and speak not just for herself but for every overwhelmed heart in the crowd? As she opened her mouth to continue, a sudden noise echoed from the entrance, breaking the moment. A commotion, a child crying out, calling for their parent. It ricocheted through the crowd, twisting the tide of emotions once more. Mom! Jake shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Sarah turned to see him reeling, his little balloon slipping from his grasp, floating high away into the sky. Would she chase after it and abandon what could be a powerful moment of connection? Or would she prioritize the call of her son and let the emotional moment unfold without her? The choice loomed ahead, profound and daunting. Sarah's heart sank as she heard Jake's voice, the urgency cutting through her resolve like a knife. The balloon danced in the air, so vibrant against the gray sky, mocking the uncertainty that now clouded her mind. She saw the fear etched across her son's face. It twisted her stomach in knots. Just a second. She called out, the words tumbling from her lips with a strange mix of determination and hesitation. Every instinct told her to comfort Jake, to assure him that she was there. But, in the back of her mind, the scene behind her pulsed with possibility. The crowd had opened up, a circle of warmth and caring. This was a moment where fear could be transformed into something powerful, where vulnerability could ignite strength. Yet, as Jake's small frame stumbled toward her, his brown eyes wide and pleading, Sarah realized that the moment was not just about her. It was about him too, Mom. His voice cracked, desperation threading through his words. In that split second, she felt a pull in both directions. Should she run to him or stand firm in a moment that could help others? The realization hit her like a wave. This was what Lavra had faced. Lavra had chosen to share her story, risking everything, facing the shadows alone. Just as Lavra needed the support of the crowd, so did Jake need her presence. She rushed toward him, her legs carrying her swiftly. Kneeling down, Shingverash warmth. I'm here, buddy, she whispered, brushing a small tear from his cheek. I've got you. Jake hugged her tightly, his little body shivering against her warmth, the balloon now a distant against the sky. "I thought I lost you," he murmured, relief pouring from him. "Never," she promised, her heart swelling. She realized it wasn't just her son who needed her presence. It was also the connection to the others who stood there, waiting for someone to take the first step in integrating personal struggles with shared experiences. Standing again, she took Jake's hand, both of them joining the crowd. They were hand in hand, two parts of a whole, a family amid the community, woven together by stories and shared truths. "Lavra," Sarah called out once more, her voice stronger now, emboldened by her son's unconditional love. "I want to help." "We all come." There were nods and murmurs of agreement among the crowd. People stepped forward with more intention, some sharing their own stories of loss and resilience. Each story became a thread in a fabric of growing strength. As they listened together, Sarah felt the warmth of unity. They had come together to uplift each other. Lavra smiled, her earlier fear beginning to recede. She lifted her hands to the group. "Thank you, everyone," she said softly. "This means the world." Yet, just as Sarah felt the tide of hope swell, a distant shout broke through the emotion of voice, no longer a child's but one that resonated authority. "Stand back, please. Emergency crew coming through." Startled, the group turned as the sirens blared, the piercing sound cutting through the air, swirling the collective emotions. Instinctively, Sarah held her child closer, feeling a new wave of anxiety wash over the gathering. What had happened? Was this another blow to their fragile moment of connection? Would the fears they had just begun to face be swallowed whole once again? As the crowd shifted, confusion and concern spread, leaving Sarah grasping for clarity amid the unfolding chaos. Would they pull through this together, too? She could feel the answer teetering on the brink, just out of reach. The atmosphere shifted drastically, and Sarah's heart raced as she sensed the urgency enveloping the crowd. She kept Jake close, his small hand trembling slightly in hers. As the community recoiled instinctively from the approaching emergency crew, a collective murmur rippled through the group. Anxiety mixed with curiosity, the laughter of moments ago replaced by whispers of concern. "Mom, is everything okay?" Jake's voice trembled, his big eyes darting around to gather the reactions of those around them. Forcing a calm smile, Sarah knelt next to him, meeting his gaze with reassurance she wished she felt inside. "I think so, honey. Just stay close to me." As the emergency team made its way through the crowd, Sarah squinted to focus on the scene ahead. A few people began to share snippets of information. Piecing together what had occurred, a small child had fallen from a ride, leading to the frantic arrival of the medics. The reality of the situation prickled at Sarah's heart. A chill rippled through her, any settling heavily in the pit of her stomach. How terrifying it must be for that child's parents right now. But just as the fear threatened to engulf her, something unexpected began to happen. Slowly, the crowd's chatter evolved into a tapestry of support, people stepping forward to offer help. One mother grabbed her phone, creating a social media post to share updates, while others gathered nearby, forming a circle to keep their worries at bay. "Let's move back a little," Samantha suggested, her voice gentle but firm as she guided Emily and Jake. "We can help by giving space." Sarah breathed in deeply, buoyed by Samantha's words. Maybe in doing so, they could create a safe haven, a moment of solidarity. As they distanced themselves yet remained rooted in their community, Sarah could see compassion taking the lead. Neighbors huddled closer, sharing their own stories, feelings flowing like a river. Her heart steadied with each story shared, as people washed away their initial fear with empathy. The vulnerability they all felt now, tangible and shared, started to stitch together their community with threads of unity. After some time, a voice rang out, low and kind. The spokesperson from the emergency crew spoke to the crowd. "We want to thank you all for your patience. The child is being taken care of and is with their family. We'll keep you updated as needed." Relief washed over the crowd like a refreshing gust. Soft gasps of understanding exchanged. As the crowd began to calm, Sarah felt a spark of resilience ignite inside her. This was the moment to embrace community, to lean into shared strength rather than yield to fear. As she looked around at the faces of the people she had known for years but never truly connected with, she felt a shift within herself. "I think we need to share our own stories," she finally voiced, turning to the gathering as they resumed to their previous energy. "All of us, right here, right now." Samantha beamed, lending her support. "Yes, it's time to share. We can lift each other up. This is why we're all here." Jake and Emily followed Sarah's lead, curiosity gleaming in their eyes. They stood tall together, emboldened by their care for one another and acceptance. Slowly but surely, individuals began to step forward, revealing their stories of struggles, triumphs, and truths they'd kept hidden. The stories poured forth like water spilling from a dam, each one binding them in solidarity, dissolving the fears and anxieties that had gripped them moments ago. One by one, stories of loss, resilience, and vulnerability flowed from those who stood together. Sarah felt inspiration wash over her as she began to speak, slowly rising to the surface of her own worries and sharing her experience of grief, purpose, and the strength of love surrounding Emily and Jake. Afterward, the murmurs of support echoed through the group. The faces she once feared to show her truth, blossoming with understanding and camaraderie. They were connected now in a profound way that had never existed before. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a warm glow filled the faces of those gathered. Sarah realized the community was transforming and masking their fears, shedding expectations, and embracing reality together. "Thank you for being here," Laura said softly, her earlier tension completely relieved. "I never expected our stories would bond us like this." Suddenly, Sarah felt her heart swell with gratitude and hope. "And from now on, let's not wait for moments like this to come together," she declared, emotion lacing her voice. "Let's make the choice to show up for each other every time we need it." The crowd erupted in applause, smiles spreading like wildfire, and in that moment, Sarah knew they weren't just sharing a story. They were creating a new beginning, a vibrant connection woven from shared struggles and undying hope. As the emergency crew left, the night embraced the fairground around them. Laughter and joy began to regain its rightful place, an echo of the strength they had built together, lingering in the air. Looking down at her children, Sarah's heart burst with pride. Together, they had confronted fears and found purpose, not only for themselves but for everyone in their community. Knowing when one fell, they were hosi. "I love you both so much," she told Emily and Jake as they shared a tender moment, holding hands. together forever. Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with optimism. Forever, Sarah affirmed, filled with unshakable joy. As they walked back toward the rides, a renewed energy pulsed between them. They would face it all together, one moment at a time, growing stronger as a family and as a community, and she knew this was just the beginning. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below about your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.